Vernomatic Productions.
Are you ready?
Live from the Metal Mayhem Studios in Rochester, New York.
We are go. We are go.
And heard around the world by metalheads just like you. This is Metal Mayhem ROC.
Heavy metal music.
Your weekly dose of metal music, interviews, album reviews, news, and more. Want to be part of the show? Send us a message through our website, metalmayhemroc.com, or hit us up on Facebook and Twitter. Search Metal Mayhem ROC.
It's getting nice and heavy.
Now, welcome our hosts, John the Vernomatic Verno, and direct from New Jersey, Metal Walt.
Good evening, everybody. Hope everyone's doing well, enjoying summertime. Here we are, Independence Day weekend, beginning of July, and we're coming at you with a double dip AC/DC-centric episode. At the end of the show tonight, we got an interview with Chris Slade, the drummer from AC/DC during the Razor's Edge era. He spent time with The Firm, David Gilmour. We'll talk to him about his career. But first, we're going to speak with John Jackson, the guy that runs the Bon Scott estate. Metal Walt, you've become good friends with John Jackson. What's going on in New York City this weekend, or actually next week, surrounding Bon Scott and his annual birthday celebration?
So Bon would have turned 79 this year, and they're doing the second annual Bon Scott celebration, a birthday bash in New York City in July. And again, it's going to be a great house band. There's going to be some changes, and there's also going to be some returning special guest singers and some new ones. Corey Glover of Living Colour is going to be there. So again, new merchandise, new things to go to in his estate. And you know what, John? Whether it's we're talking Bon Scott's legacy or we're talking Chris Slade's tenure with AC/DC, the big thing is that AC/DC is still a very vibrant band. Yes, they toured the U.S. this year. Yes, they're touring Europe and Australia. There's criticism as to whether they should retire or will they come back to the States. But these things are a reminder that when these bands are long gone, AC/DC's legacy is going to live on for a very long time.
I agree. I'm excited. Looks like I'm going to take the trip down to Jersey. Metal Walt and I are going to be going to this show, and I love Bon Scott era AC/DC. That's my favorite. So looking forward to that. And then this interview we did with Chris Slade. I'm not going to let all the, all the secrets out of the bag, but he tells this story. It's awesome. He tells this story about in one day he had two British rock legends battling over for his services. It's truly amazing. So that's what's coming up. John Jackson, AC/DC, Bon Scott, Birthday Bash, and Chris Slade talking about his career with AC/DC, The Firm, David Gilmour, and Manfred Mann. It's all in there. So Metal Walt, look forward to seeing you next week. And everyone else, thank you for listening. Get up to the website, check out the merch page, leave a review, and subscribe to the pod. For Metal Walt, I'm the Vernomatic, and we are Metal Mayhem ROC.
So today I welcome back to the show John Jackson of the Bon Scott Estate. And he's here to talk about the second annual Bon Scott Birthday Bash in NYC. So John, it's nice to have you back. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me back, Walt. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. You are an esteemed guest because I think this is the third time you've been on the show, all to talk about the Bon Scott stuff. So, congratulations. So a couple of things come to mind when you think AC/DC. They did their rounds in the spring and they hit some select cities in the U.S. I did not catch one, but I believe you did, correct?
Yeah, I was able to get up to the Boston show, at Gillette Stadium in Foxborough. That was a great show. I mean, I'd seen some clips of the Europe stuff, and it's from fan perspectives and stuff. But to actually be in the room with them,
what was your takeaway from the performance?
Like,
I mean, obviously everybody knows the set list, but how were Angus? How did Brian hold up, and the supporting cast?
I mean, everybody was fantastic. I mean, Brian, sounded amazing, I would say, even. Again, you hear things, you see things, and, you never know what it's going to be like until you get there. And he nailed it. And that's like a 3-hour show. And then Angus, of course, running around and doing even still going out into the crowd and doing the whole, Let There Be Rock solo and everything is just, it's incredible
exactly.
that these guys are
I mean,
still
as
performing at
a musician
that level.
yourself and a guitar player who plays the role of Malcolm Young, was it eye-opening and to kind of watch Stevie Young up there and say, okay, I got to kind of replicate some of what they're doing?
It is. I mean, it's actually a great lesson to sit there and actually watch them, because some of the parts kind of blend together, even on the records, and you go, what exactly is he doing there? So to be able to actually watch, where the hands are and, who's playing which little lick or which little piece is
that's
is
cool. That's cool.
Very valuable, actually.
Excellent. Well, yeah, I'm hoping that maybe they add another, leg of shows. Maybe they come back and hit MetLife Stadium, but we shall see. But anyway, so we move on. So this year will be Bon Scott's 79th birthday, so we're edging closer to 80. Last year, you did the big inaugural show at Arlene's Grocery. I was there. It was awesome. And you did a show in Long Island in January as like a little, teaser to keep the wheels greased. But this summer you got the second annual bash. So tell us about it, maybe where you're going to be playing and, what's all entailed this year around.
Well, so this year we're doing we're doing it at the Bowery Electric in New York, which is on the Bowery, near where the old CBGB's was, and it's a great rock club. It's one of Jesse Mallin's places, and holds about 200 people. So theoretically it'll be twice as big as what we did last year. So we're getting a little ambitious, but we have some great singers. The band, we're mixing up the band a little bit, where we've got some of the same singers as last year, some new singers, but like we keep telling people, it's not a tribute band. It'll never be the same cast of characters, and we would never try to replace Bon. I think what we're doing is much more similar to what like the Jimi Hendrix Experience Hendrix folks do with their Red House tour, which is, it's not a guitar player that's pretending to be Jimi Hendrix. It's, several people that come out and all do a few songs in their own way and just pay tribute to him. So I think that's sort of what we're trying to do. But of course, it'll be Bon era AC/DC songs, and it'll be very loud.
Sounds good. I'm looking forward to it. I will be there again.
Very fun, I promise.
So maybe can you give us a little teaser on maybe who's returning and who might be new in terms of the musicians, the singers in the band?
Well, in the band, we've got myself and Paul McGilloway, who is our Angus, who's just phenomenal. But this year on bass, we've got Ivan Bodley, who is also just incredible. He plays with everybody. He does Broadway, he does rock shows, he does sessions. He's played with 61 Rock and Roll Hall of Famers by his own count on gigs. And then what's really cool is we have Kenny Soul playing drums, and Kenny was actually in a band called Nantucket that toured with AC/DC. They opened for them in 79 and 80. So he actually met Bon. And they did a cover of A Long Way to the Top in 1980, like just after Bon died. So he's got some great history there. And that's, just the backing band. And on vocals, we have some of the same people back, like Dave Anthony from 10 Ton Mojo and Peter Shaw from Trans-Siberian Orchestra. But we've also got Eric Toast from Honky Toast, who, is basically as close to Bon incarnate as you can get, with the tattoos and the shirtless thing and everything. And then and Corey Glover from Living Color is going to be our special guest. He'll sing Highway to Hell. It's gonna be great. It's last year we had 16 singers doing 16 songs. This year we've got about 10 singers, and we'll probably do more like 20 songs. So you'll see people doing, one or two songs, and it's great because nobody's fighting. Everybody has their own favorite. So you just say, what do you want to do? And no one is overlapping. So it's a real testament, I think, to the material. Are you going to be changing the set list up at all? Maybe adding in some different things that you didn't do last summer? Yeah, well, we'll be definitely adding What's Next to the Moon. We will have different people singing different things.
Okay.
Devin Marie is going to do a whole lot of Rosie this year. Yeah, so we're definitely mixing it up. We don't want it to get stale or, have people think, oh, it's these people that do these songs or whatever. It's just, and once people are signed up as fans, these singers, they pretty much, it's like, oh yeah, whatever, whatever you need me to do, I can do. So, we also have the wonderful Chris Antos from Long Island, who can pretty much cover any Bond song you can imagine.
Okay,
so
that sounds good. And you got a good opening
it'll
band.
be
I was
stacked
looking
this
at
year
the
for
poster,
sure.
the Ravagers, and I recall them. I said, well, where have I heard them? And then I remember Little Steven's Underground Garage on XM. He played them on there, and they're like your typical, New York City, Bowery, downtown kind of, rock band, just leather and jeans. Good selection.
Exactly. Yeah. No, they're fantastic, and we're lucky to have them. They can play their own shows at Bowery Electric all the time, but having them come on to support is really going to make it a special night. And they are a fantastic band, and they are that sort of, in the same way that like Iggy is, they're that good mixture of punk and hard rock, and right where Bond was with the tattoos and the super skinny guys and everything. It's just
that's good.
It's a perfect
well, it's going to
fit.
be a
So
good
I'm
one,
really looking
and
forward to
I
it.
look forward to getting down there in the heat in the city once again. So now on the merchandise front, I know you always got something up your sleeve in terms of new Bon Scott merchandise. We've been kind enough. You guys have offered a prize package, a swag prize package to one of our listeners. So we're going to be doing a contest, and whoever wins the prize will get a prize package with a t-shirt and some other stuff in there. So thank you guys for that. But what else do you have going on?
So the prize pack is, a t-shirt, a patch, a pin, one of our Super 7 action figures, which are really neat to have. All of that for the people who don't win is available at bonscottofficial.com. There's a shop, that we like to keep fresh items in. We've got a new Knucklebones statue coming out, which Knucklebones are those kind of, 9 or so inch resin statues, and they do Ozzy and Zakk Wylde and Metallica and Judas Priest and everybody. And they did one about 5 years ago of the Highway to Hell, jean vest and everything. And this year they're coming out with a Long Way to the Top one. So he's got the white vest and the blue bagpipes from the Flatbed Truck music video. So we're really excited about that. We've got some other collabs coming, like with the Dixon Flannel Company. It seems that's been pushed back a little bit, but it seems like we'll have one in September of this year. And they do, Black Sabbath flannel shirts and Metallica, and they did an Eddie Van Halen one. And it's just a fun, they do the patterns specifically to the artwork or vibe of the artist. So they're a great partner. And and just, we've got a new birthday t-shirt design done by Phil Yarnell, who also did the poster, who worked with me for a decade doing AC/DC box sets and, the DVD packages, Plug Me In and Family Jewels and all that stuff. He designed all that stuff. So we've asked him to make a commemorative shirt for this year and the poster and everything. So yeah, there's a lot going on. That's all geared towards, just keeping Bond's memory alive and educating new people to him.
Yep. It's all good
that
stuff.
might not know about him.
I know.
At this point.
But, as we talked about a year ago and 6 months ago, there are a generation of rock fans that may not know AC/DC, or they may not know Bon Scott. They just hear these songs on social media, TikTok, and other things. So it's a good thing.
Exactly. And yeah, we're in a Marvel movie or, some sort of a superhero thing. And obviously the music works great in those contexts, but, it is people that invented it and wrote it and recorded it. And, and it's great to, once you hook people like that in, to go, well, come over here for a second. I want to tell you about this album or this song or this, graphic or whatever,
Yeah,
so that
totally.
they get deeper
Well,
into
this is
the
great, John. I
AC/DC
wish you luck at the
experience.
show, and I will see you down there, hopefully a little bit early. We'll hang out, have a beer, catch up a little bit, and yeah, sounds good. So for more information on the show and all things Bon Scott, head over to bonscottofficial.com for all of the details. So, John, again, we'll see you down there at the Bowery Electric Wednesday, July 9, 2025 in New York City, the Bon Scott Tribute Band, as well as the Ravagers. So today for my guest, John Jackson, I'm Metal Walt, and this is Metal Mayhem ROC.
Well, today we're joined by rock drumming legend Chris Slade. 60-year career, playing with some of the biggest names in rock. AC/DC, David Gilmour, Jimmy Page, Paul Rogers and the Firm, and he even went to Vegas and has a history with Tom Jones and Manfred Mann. Chris, welcome to Metal Mayhem. How are you, buddy?
Good, thank you. Thanks very much. I was just thinking the other day, Vegas in the 60s was totally different the way it is now.
Yeah, I've heard about it. When the desert was the desert. Sounds like a great time. Listen,
Yeah.
we're gonna take a huge walk down through your career. A lot of interesting talking points. But I got to ask you, have you ever been mistaken with Peter Garrett from Midnight Oil?
Yes. By the ladies from Heart.
Oh, Ann and Nancy Wilson.
Yeah. I was in, I just got in, it was raining like hell. I had a sort of Australian type raincoat on with, and I was wet, and they came up and went, wow, it's great to meet you. I said, I think you got the wrong band.
Yeah. Well, we joke because, that's how we are, but, there's a big resemblance, but, congratulations on his 60-year career. We look forward to this conversation.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's been, it hasn't been long enough, really.
Yeah.
So, hey, Chris, I live in New Jersey in the U.S., and I think in the third week of April, Tom Jones is playing a concert near me in Red Bank, New Jersey, which is also a neighboring town of where Bruce Springsteen lives in Rumson, New Jersey, which you obviously have history with Manfred Mann and the Blinded by the Light thing. But
Yeah.
John and I were talking. I find it fascinating that you performed with Tom Jones in the 60s, because that was the period where it was almost like that was like the inspiration for those cool mod movies or Austin Powers. But how did you get involved with Tom Jones?
I'd heard that they'd sacked their drummer, and I was working in a shoe store. I was 16, don't forget. Like a temporary job, whatever. And the guitarist came into the shop. And he was in his 20s, I was 16, so I was shaking, really shaking. Big age gap in those days. And I went up to him and I said, I just heard you sacked your drummer. I'm a drummer. I live by Tom. And it went from there.
It was that easy, huh? That easy.
It wasn't easy. It wasn't that easy for me to be a 16-year-old talking to this 22-year-old legend, because Mike Roberts and Tommy Scott and the Centers were really well known and loved in the valleys in South Wales, where I was born, where me and Tom were born. Same village, actually, but 10 years difference. And also Phil Campbell was born there from Motorhead.
Okay.
Treforest, Pontypridd, South Wales.
It's funny, Chris, looking at the discography for Tom Jones, you played on that Live in Las Vegas album. And that was, like you said, a different time in Vegas. You think Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin and, those guys. But when you look on the album, the guitar player was somebody named Big Jim Sullivan, who I read gave lessons to Richie Blackmore. So it's just crazy how there's all these associations back to hard rock.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Jim was a great player. He was the top session man at the time in Britain. And he was on Tom's show quite a lot every week, actually. And he played his own piece, whatever it was, instrumental piece, on either acoustic or electric. And he had his own spot on national TV every week for a couple of years, I expect. So he was well known. He's no longer with us, I'm afraid. And I'm sure he knew lots of those guys. I remember he was using Ian Pace as a drummer when Ian Pace first started playing. And he said, "Oh, we got a great drummer." I said, "Oh, really?" He said, "Ian Pace, never heard him much." And Ian's a great guy, actually. We meet up now and again. I'm seeing him for years now, unfortunately. But we used to meet each other at gigs and things sometimes. So, Big Jim Sullivan. It was John Rossdale who was on bass, who was big in Britain because he was the Shadows bass player, Cliff Richard's backing band. So he was well-known, very nice guy.
Chris, I saw through research at some point in this period, were you playing with John Paul Jones in some kind of Tom Jones project?
Yes, an album called 13 Smash Hits. I don't know if it's still available. I haven't got a clue. I worked with him. And in fact, that's when he announced he was thinking of through the whole room, he was thinking of starting a band with Jimmy Page. What's it going to be called then, John? Well, JP, in fact, they called him. And he said, well, we were thinking of calling Led Zeppelin. And everybody fell about laughing because it was a joke, last night we went down like a Led Zeppelin. Yeah. Like a lead balloon, Yep. And everybody thought it was hilarious to call it that. So that was before he knew Jimmy Page. Of course, they were the two top session players in Britain. He was the only guy who could read and play, and he was an arranger too. He was a great arranger. So he was the only one who could do that Motown stuff in Britain and read it and write it.
Well, Chris,
in music.
Chris, let me ask you, why didn't you double down and ask JPJ, hey, you guys need a drummer? Maybe you could have got in there before instead of Bonham.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just possible, isn't it? Never occurred to me at the time, because I didn't know him as a friend or anything. I worked with him on songs.
I'm just goofing.
And I didn't know. Yeah, what I thought though. I didn't know Jimmy Page then. That was that came out of the blue decades later.
So Chris, what about playing for the Queen of England at a royal event? What kind of event was this, and how did Tom Jones and his magnificent band get invited to do that?
It's called the Royal Variety Show. And people get invited, and it's televised as well, And I'm sure the Queen's really bored and stuff. It's got to sit through jugglers and comedians and all sorts, But what used to be an annual event, and it was a big deal, the Royal Variety Performance. And it was great for acts because you got seen on TV, So it was a great opportunity. She seemed very nice, actually, as a person. Tom actually, in print, remarked upon what nice legs she had.
Oh.
50 years later, you know, sure, Tom Jones.
I'm guessing he dedicated the song "What's New, Pussycat" to the Queen of England.
I don't think so. I don't think she would appreciate that too much. She wouldn't have been amused.
Yes, right. That's good stuff. But Chris, moving on to your longest, let's say the band you were in longest was the Manfred Mann's Earth Band. You were in there for the better part of the 70s.
Yeah.
You know, we know that the song "Blinded by the Light" is one of the most, if not the most, misunderstood lyric song. It's all misconstrued. But, you know, only local people like me, maybe in New Jersey, know that Bruce Springsteen wrote it. But it was popularized and still popular today on FM classic radio by Manfred Mann. So, I mean, just what was it like recording this song, playing in this band for the better part of a decade?
Well, I think the lyric thing came about because there were no lyrics printed on the sleeve. I don't know if there is now, but those first editions, if you like, no lyrics. So we had to listen for hours to just to, you know, try to make out the lyrics. So it came out, in the end, I came up with, and there's a whole band sitting around a little portable record player, just over and over, moving the needle, moving the needle. Well, what line was that? I don't know, move the needle. Yeah. And I came up with, what was it? Passed up like a deuce, I think, because that we could hear the word deuce, we didn't know wrapped like a deuce. That's right. Like when you, in Britain, I don't know if it's the same in the States. I should, but I don't.
Yeah.
When you wrap your cards in, you wrap your hand, like you throw it away, you know? Oh, that hand's are going to wrap it. And so I sort of got wrapped up like a deuce, another running in the night. And that got slightly garbled, shall we say. And all everybody heard is what you know they thought they heard. But, the singer of Earth Band, Chris Thompson, had a New Zealand accent. So he talked a little bit, you know, like that, you know. And so all that, and the recording head wasn't set up properly, so everything became very sibilant. Oh, it's a comedy of errors, actually. And that's what happened. But
it's a piece of trivia now. It's music trivia forever. This is something they still talk about it. Here it is 50 years later.
Yeah, I get it all the time. I really do when I do interviews. And, you know, this year I've done hundreds just this year, you know, since the first. And it's surprising. And I know it's played a lot because in the States, because my daughter lives in the States. And you hear it all the time. Like you can change channels, you'll hear it 6 times a day at least.
Yeah, it's it's classic rock radio. It's a staple. Chris, share the story of the 2 phone calls in one day with 2 legends, because this is fantastic. Share this story with our listeners.
Well, phone rings. No mobile phones in those days, of course. This was, and I pick it up. Hello, house phone, you know. And it was David Gilmour. Hello, Chris. This is David Gilmour here. Now, come on. I know it's you, Fred. You're messing me about, aren't you? No. It's really, you know, it is David Gilmour. I'd like you to play drums in my band I'm just putting together to go on the road. I said, that's fantastic. That is fantastic. when, where, how, and all that. And we sorted that out. I put the phone down. Well, see you soon then, Nick. Bye. Put the phone down. Said to my missus, come on, we go down the pub. I'm going on the road with David Gilmour. So went to the pub, had lunch and a drink, and came back. Phone rings. Ring, ring. Pick it up. Hello? Hello, it's Jimmy Page here. Now, come on, Fred. I know it's you messing me about. No, really. It's Jimmy Page. Phil Carlo told me to call you because I'd like you to play drums with me and Paul Rogers would like you to play drums with our new band. And I couldn't believe it. This is an hour and a half after David Gilmour had called. And it's like, well, I'm really sorry, mate. I want to do it. Of course I do. But I just said, I just confirmed with David Gilmour I'm going to go on the road with him. That's all right. How long is it going to be? Well, I think it's going to be about 3-6 months. I still have the phone at my ear. And I thought that's the end of it, And he said, oh, that's all right. We'll wait. And I remember I looked at the phone and thought, am I hearing this correctly? And I put it back and he went, yeah, we're not in a rush. Just let me know what's happening, where you are and all that. I said, of course.
So who recommended you to Jimmy Page? Phil Collins?
Say again.
Who recommended you to Jimmy Page? Phil Collins? Is that who you said?
No. Phil Carlo, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Who was a crew guy. Carlo. Carlo. And he was a crew guy. And we were friends at that time. And he worked for Pagey and a lot of people, actually. And
so you take the gig with Gilmour in '84. You do the live VHS and the About Face tour. How was that tour? How was David Gilmour? How was it traveling? Was it the States? Was it UK? What was the tour? Tell us about that period.
It was the world.
Mm-hmm.
In a bus. Not private planes, in a bus. And I know Dave got a kick out of that, like being on the road in the bus and that. Because he's a very down-to-earth guy. He used to wake us up some mornings by playing records full volume at like 7 o'clock in the morning, just to have a laugh, yeah.
What?
And he'd be laughing his socks off.
Why do you think David Gilmour went back to the roots and toured on a bus with the guys to get that band unity kind of vibe going?
Yeah, possibly. Or maybe to save money. Who knows?
I don't know.
I travel with my band, Chris Slade Timeline, now, and we're in a van. Just like the old days, with the equipment in the back, in a compartment. And I love it. Because with AC/DC, we were all private planes everywhere, this last time around. The first time around, it was buses. I say buses because the band had 2 buses, one for smokers, one for non-smokers, and I was a non-smoker. So it was Angus and Malcolm in the second bus, or the first bus, some people might say, and we were in the other one.
Who were you with? You're with Cliff Williams and Brian. Did you tour on the buses when Axl was leading the band?
No, he had his own bus, Axl. In fact, his own plane, I should say, because we were traveling in private planes then.
How was Bill compared to Bill Bailey, his real name? How was Axl when you were with him compared to his persona that everyone thinks he is? Was he a down-to-earth guy?
I was shocked. A very down-to-earth guy. I was very, very shocked because I was told, tomorrow, I was only told the day before, tomorrow it's Axl Rose. Axl Rose? We tried 3 other singers out, not well-known singers. And I said, Axl Rose, can't believe that. I said, yeah. And so I got in there. There's Axl. Hello. Shook his hand. And I thought, this guy's all right. And he was telling jokes. He was never, ever late once. Not once. And he was very, very nice. Extremely nice. And that's why I was shocked, because I'd heard all the stories, of course, same as you have.
Mm-hmm.
And he could sing like, wow. He had some notes that only dogs can hear, It's just unbelievable. He wasn't Brian, but he was Axl singing AC/DC. And he asked for some requests for himself, like Blood on the Rocks and things like that, because he had great respect for AC/DC. And of course, I sort of grew up with them as well, I suppose. And so it was really great. I thought a lot of people didn't like it, but when they saw it, they knew how good it was. But a lot of people didn't want to come and see that because of Axl's reputation, I suppose.
Sure. And you're right. He really dusted off some of those old classic songs and gave the set list a shot of adrenaline. Must have been cool for you to play something different and, a different vibe of the band. Did you enjoy the variety of the new set list?
I enjoyed the hell out of it, yes. We didn't change. The band did not change at all. It was still AC/DC, but it had Axl Rose singing.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we didn't change an arrangement or anything. He asked us to, he asked Angus, what about Touch Too Much? Can I do Touch Too Much? And Angus says, well, we don't know at the moment, but we will by next week. And we did, we're supposed to. And so he did some of the old stuff, which was great. It was just a great experience.
Sure.
Like Chris, tying back to the end of the David Gilmour period, I thought it was fascinating that Mick Ralphs of Mott the Hoople and Bad Company fame played in that band as well. That came as a little bit of a surprise to me, and then, so what happens when that tour ends? Like, do you pick up the phone and then call Jimmy Page and say, hey, we're done, I'm ready. Now you can go start what would become the Firm? Was it that easy?
Yes, we didn't have a name then. We came up with a name in band discussions. But yes, that's exactly what happened. I can't remember the details of it at all. But it came off throat. So no, or I probably said a couple of weeks before, this is definitely ending now on blah, blah. And it was 9 or 10 months, in fact, from that first phone call with Jimmy Page. So it was, it went on a bit, the Gilmour tour, because it kept getting booked all around the world. It was originally 3 months, and it turned out to be 10 months, 9-10 months.
Because, obviously there's associations with the Atlantic Records. Both Bad Company and Zeppelin were on Atlantic Records. There's the Peter Grant connection because he was the manager of both. So that tied in Paul and Jimmy together. But when you listen to the music, I was only a teenager, right? So the first song I hear is Radioactive on MTV, and it had that weird guitar. And, a couple hits came out, Satisfaction Guaranteed, all the King's Horses from the next album. But I always thought it was a cool concept. But then again, why was the band in and out in a matter of 2 to 3 years? 2 albums, 2 tours, and it was over. What happened?
Yeah, I was disappointed about that because, it was a damn good band, of course. But there you go. That's the way rock music is. That's it comes and it goes. Simple as that, really.
Was it Paul and Paul and Jimmy butting heads, or maybe too much drinking and partying? What was it?
No, Pagey wasn't. He was drinking white wine spritzers in those days. No, he did have the occasional scotch, but no, it was nothing to do with booze or anything. I think, I don't know, it could have been butting heads. I really didn't or couldn't concern myself with the ins and outs of the band, because it was Jim's and Paul's band, So you just do what you're told, basically. But it was enjoyable. I remember too with Gilmour, in that first phone conversation, I said, "Oh, anyway, I'm sure that I'm sort of playing with Mick Ralphs and his band," and he said, "Oh, that's okay. Mick is doing it too." So Mick was like the other guitarist in that. Very nice guy again. So everybody, it was such a good experience, that Gilmour tour.
When you're doing stuff for the firm, were you writing with Jimmy and Paul?
No.
Or you weren't? What was your role? Just basically touring drummer and recording drummer?
Thumping things, yeah.
Okay.
I did play an idea to Paul once, and I thought, well, I'll just show him, and I made a demo of this song, and I didn't play it to anybody else, played it to Paul. And he said, "Oh, yeah, it's great, man." And that's all he ever said.
So you knew to stay in your lane moving forward. Hey,
that's right.
You gotta take your shot.
Yeah.
Chris, what about like the live shows? I mean, it's a fact that no Led Zeppelin and Bad Company songs were played. But then it was rumored that some of those songs, or at least riffs, maybe were done at the sound checks. But I was always curious, let's say from the fan or the audience, were audiences disappointed because they figured, okay, you're going to get 8 songs off the album, the new album, but you're going to get a couple of each of the other songs. Were fans walking out of here going, "Huh? I'm confused"?
I didn't know that, but yes, I would have been myself, because I would expect at least a couple of songs of each band. I think Paul started by saying, "No, I don't want to do any Bad Company or anything free or anything like that." And Jim said, "Well, I don't do any Led Zeppelin either." So I think that's where it came from. So yes, they could have cleaned up, but they didn't want to do it like that.
Why didn't they want to do it? They wanted to do a 100% clean break?
I think so. There's a few bands that don't even want to play their hits, if you like. Oh no, we played that enough, which is what the people have come to see. They're shooting themselves in the foot if they don't play their big hit or big hits. And, this is showbiz. I don't care if you're in a heavy metal death rock band. It's showbiz.
Yeah.
You got to give the people what they want.
Or at least let them know. I know this was 40 years ago and the communication channels weren't there, internet and whatnot, but they didn't go out of their way and say exclusive firm music, or we're not playing any Zeppelin or Bad Company. So it's sort of like they were using the gloss of the other bands, but they weren't, opening the door on the material.
Yeah, well, they both realized, who they are and what they bring. So they probably thought it'd be enough to bring people in,
You
But
mentioned you mentioned you learned some stuff about David Gilmour that surprised you. What did you learn about Jimmy Page that pleasantly surprised you and thought, hey, he's a pretty cool guy. I wouldn't expect that from Jimmy Page.
Well, he wasn't at all pretentious, had no airs and graces, Jimmy. He was just, I never saw him throw a wobbler. That's what we call it in Britain. Get upset about anything. Except professional stuff, like the plane's late or the car's late or something like that. Which is justified because everybody has a schedule. But otherwise, he never, ever threw a wobbler. He was always, and he's 6 foot tall, but he doesn't act like it because he always sort of stoops a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, he's very nice, actually. I've known Paul since 1971 when he was in Free. Did a tour in 71 of Australia with Manfred Mann's Earth Band, and Free were opening the show. And that's when we used to, that's when I met Paul first. He didn't talk a lot. He don't do talking. And he was very young and skinny, like he was in Free. But when they flew on stage.
When was the last time you spoke to either Jimmy Page or Paul Rodgers?
Say that again.
When was the last time you spoke with your friends, Jimmy Page and Paul Rodgers? Do you keep in touch?
Paul a few years ago. Haven't seen Jimmy probably for decades now. He sort of stopped doing anything, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Chris, we have a theme at Metal Mayhem ROC here. It just seems maybe not a theme, a trend that lately John and I seem to be interviewing British rock drummers. So we had Simon Kirke of Bad Company on recently. So probably another mate of yours. And then last year we had Roger Earl of Foghat on. So it just seems that now you're the trifecta, probably with more to come.
Oh, excuse me. We also had Nigel Glockler of Saxon.
Yeah. That's it. There you go, too.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know Simon Kirke. We got on well, actually, when I haven't seen him for years now. But funny enough, I played at different times with every single member of Bad Company.
Oh, really?
Even Boz Burrell, I was in his band at one time. That's strange to think I played with every single member of Bad Company. So it's and even Simon Kirke.
What did you play with Simon?
We were doing a thing called Fantasy Camp
Yes.
in Los Angeles. Nick Mason was also there. And we all played on stage at the same time. So that was quite an experience.
What song did you play? And did you have 3 drum sets?
Yes.
What songs?
I can't remember. Honestly, can't. It could have been any of the hits, I suppose. Or it might just have been a rock jam. I don't know.
Hey, Chris, moving on to, let's say, your start with AC/DC. So, it seems that you had an opportunity, or at least discussions, to join AC/DC in 1983. to replace Phil Rudd after flick of the switch, but you were already committed to the firm. But then the second time around, you took over for Simon Wright. How and when did you get that call?
I auditioned. It was, they had the same manager, ACDC had the same manager as the firm, I think. Am I saying that correct? Guy called Stuart. Yeah. Oh, no. It was the same manager, ACDC, and Gary Moore. Because I played drums with Gary Moore as well for a year.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got a chance at an audition, which happened to be in Britain at that time. They'd auditioned all over the world, Australia, America, and they had this one in England. And they were top players before me. I won't say who, but they were really top-notch players, everybody. And the drum tech, Dick Jones, told me that people would just ring him up and say, hey, don't tell my band that I want to try out with you guys. And they'd have top players from bands you'd never think of auditioning for AC/DC.
Sure.
Which is crazy. But I was number 100 in the audition line. And this is, again, Dick told me this, and Angus confirmed it. And I've no idea. I didn't know how well or badly I'd done. I could not judge it. I was driving home and I was just telling myself, why did you say that? Why did you play that? Why didn't you play that? Just kicking me, kicking myself.
Yeah.
And I got lost. I lived an hour from the rehearsal place. 1 hour, that's all. And I knew my way around. And I got lost because I was kicking myself so much. So I phoned my wife and I said, I got lost. And she said, what? Yeah, I'll be back in half hour. Okay. So I got back and she was walking up the path towards me. And she said, how'd you do? I said, really bad, really just bad. I think it was just terrible. She said they just phoned to say you got the job.
Wow.
That's true story.
Why did you get the gig? What did you, later on, did you ask them, how did I get the gig? What did I do?
No, I wouldn't test things like that.
No one ever
to get the gig.
No one ever said anything?
It's a lot to do with, no, they don't talk, by the way. When Malcolm was alive, they didn't talk. They just looked at each other.
They didn't talk to each other. They didn't talk to anyone.
They didn't need to. No, they talked, to people. But when they needed to communicate, they just look at each other.
Oh, sure.
They wouldn't have a conversation and say, how was that? Or shouldn't that be a bit, or whatever. It was just a look, which is uncanny, really. And in the audition, they put 2 chairs 10 feet from the drum kit, no pressure, and Angus and Mal sat in that. Brian was in the corner of the room and Cliff was in the other corner of the room. And those 2 sat in front of me 10 feet from my face. No pressure at all, of course.
What song did you audition to?
Oh, played a few things, but Back in Black, of course, one of them. I remember that distinctly. And they gave me a new one that they'd just written. And that turned up on the Razor's Edge album, which is Rock Your Heart Out. And it's so different from anything else that, that AC/DC have ever done before, because it's syncopated bass drum as well. So, which is so unusual for them. But that's one of my favorite tracks, actually. rock it
Now,
hard.
when you rehearsed that brand new song at the time, was that the first time you heard it, or had they given you like an advance of it to
No.
practice it?
No, they wanted me to. No, they wanted to see how well I could learn it right off the demo. You know,
Wow.
'Cause
So that was an audition.
Angus and Mal actually play drums. They play. You know, they can play, both of them. So they used to put the drums down. They did with Phil Rudd too, by the way. Once it's demoed, that's it. That's the song. That's the arrangement. That's what you play. The only thing they didn't have in Razor's Edge was they didn't have the thunder. They didn't have that thump, thump, bum, bum. You know, that was done.
Was that your contribution?
Yes, but it was more the producer, actually. He said, "Can you go boom, boom there?" I said, "Of course I can." He seemed very surprised. I don't know why. Honestly, he seemed very surprised that I could actually go boom, boom. That sounds so weird, but it's true.
Was it Chris? Was it the single bass drum that you used? Maybe that could have been what Malcolm and Angus were drawn through, because it's a big sound. Maybe all these other guys were elaborate drummers with hundreds of pieces of kits. Maybe that's not what they were looking for.
Oh, that wasn't at the audition. That was at the audition. Start again. That was at the recording sessions. It didn't come up in the auditions. I don't think it was even written yet. But what a great track, Thunderstruck. Jeez.
John and I were chatting the other night on the phone 2 nights ago, and talking about our week with Metal Mayhem RC and you coming up, and sure enough, in the States, a Starbucks commercial comes up. They use Thunderstruck in Starbucks. I saw it in an automobile commercial. My kids are in their teen years. They play all kinds of recreation sports in the U.S. That's one of the motivational songs to get everybody going in the warm-ups. It's unbelievable how that song has been repurposed over the last 30-something years.
Yeah. The armed forces use it too. You know, when paratroopers drop out, they play that. Many people have told me that. I went to Afghanistan about 10 years ago, and they were playing it there for motivational purposes, and it's a great one to get you going, isn't it? Okay, go out there and get on that battlefield, guys.
Did you think at the time it was gonna be as big as it was? Did you have a feeling?
No, I had no idea. I knew that It's Not Unusual with Tom Jones was a hit when we did it. We knew immediately it was a hit song and a hit record. But I had no clue about Thunderstruck.
Earlier, you briefly touched on touring with AC/DC in the Plains. How was it touring with them back then? Because it was a different landscape. I hate to say it was their comeback album, but it was put them back in the forefront. It was early 90s. What was it like touring with them back then?
It was great. It was real camaraderie, you know. Cliff said to me that, we used to sell like 10 million records. And he said, it's gone down the hill a bit. We only sell 1 million now.
Well,
so he said that when I first joined, And second time round, we played to 80,000 seater stadiums, First time it was very good, very good. It's more like what I was used to, But with AC/DC, Second time, it was 80,000 seats every night, minimum of 80,000 seats. And I had a cab driver in Britain a few years back, and he said, what are you doing? I said, oh, AC/DC. He said, oh, yeah, I remember. They were big in the 70s, weren't they? I said, mate, they're bigger now than they ever were. He couldn't believe it. I told him that, 80,000 seats, He couldn't believe that. It's like playing Wembley Stadium in England, And he couldn't get his head around that because there was this band who was big in the 70s. Or it was the 80s, I don't know. But,
80s.
Yeah,
70s, they were getting there.
Hey, Chris, I saw a couple of those shows on Razor's Edge, Madison Square Garden in New York City. Of course, I remember it. July 1991, I think it was. But there was nothing like Thunderstruck opening the show because that was the first song. And, Angus came out, the spotlight was on him, and then the Thunder songs. It was just an amazing start for a show, the build-up. But then I think of the live album and VHS tape that came out from Donington. I mean, that had to be more than 80,000 people, I would think. That was like a monumental archive piece of history.
150,000 people, yeah.
What do you remember from that show specifically?
Donington?
Yeah.
Exactly that. It was a hell of a lot of people. I played festivals before, all through my career. I played Madison Square Gardens with Tom Jones in the 60s. And it was for a week, and it was sold out, So I think that's another thing with getting the job. They sat in front of me 10 feet from me to see if I would crack in any way. And I've been doing this, all my life at that point. And so I wasn't going to crack with any pressure. And I think it might have been that also. That was a factor. Because you can't put a young, inexperienced player into a stadium straight away. He's going to fold. He just is. Because it's very daunting. But I just get on with the job, to be honest. And that's what you got to do. Got to concentrate on your drums, on your playing, and not be taken in by the novelty of the situation.
Yeah. Chris, you were you kind of left the band for a while there, and then you came back, obviously for Rock and Bust, which you talk about. But how did you handle that? And John and I were curious. Were you considered for the Power Up tour? Because they went with a relatively unknown guy in the States, Matt Laug, which was a bit surprising.
Yeah, I know Matt, by the way. I met him a few times. Very nice guy, really good drummer. I know he's doing a good job with them. What more can I say? He was up for the job. And Angus wanted him, he was looking around. They did audition, and Matt went out. I used to go and see him play in Manhattan Beach in Los Angeles. He was there, or the band he was with was there every Friday, and occasionally he would sit in. The other drummer, the person he sat in for, was... he's a good friend too. I can't think of his name right now. Styx drummer, Todd Zuckerman.
Wow, Todd Zuckerman, yeah.
He used to play in that bar with that band anytime he had some time off. He wasn't with Styx yet. And it's funny when I say to people, Todd Zuckerman plays with Styx. They go, of course he does. He's a drummer.
Well, when you said the Styx drummer, I was thinking of Chuck Panazzo. Way back. That Chuck passed, right? There was the two brothers in Styx. One of them died. So
yeah, not Chuck. Chuck's the bass player. He's still alive. It's the other guy, the other one.
Yeah. So
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
they're a really good band. Really good band. And Todd is probably one of the greatest drummers I've ever seen. Honestly. But you know, he's great with sticks. But he's playing to a script, you know? Yeah, you have to. And in that bar in Manhattan Beach, there was no script. He was just free to play wherever he wanted. And he was fantastic. I mean, I've seen Buddy Rich live, and, you know, incredible. I've seen Buddy Rich 3 or 4 times live. And Todd is way up there. He's a great player.
Right, Chris, talking about Buddy Rich, circling back to the Tom Jones, I read online that apparently you guys and Tom Jones performed on the Mike Douglas American TV show. And Buddy Rich must have said to Mike, quote unquote, that band that plays behind Tom is one of the greatest of all time. And you were in that band.
Ah, great. Thank you very much. That's a great compliment. Thank you.
Well, of course.
Chris, there was a rumor you played with Uriah Heep, and there's a rumor about doing some stuff with Black Sabbath. Any truth to any of that?
I played with Heap for 2 years. 82, I think. It was 80 to 82. I can't remember now, to be very honest. No, I can't remember the date. But I played with them 2 years, but not Sabbath. I did shows with them. Earthband supported them.
Yeah.
But no, I never played drums with them. To my
No, it was
knowledge.
rumored you're in the running, you know, in the early 80s when Sabbath was rejoining with Dio, and, you know, there was Vinny Appice was in and out, and that kind of era.
Vinny is another great player. I've never seen a drummer hit drums as hard as he does. He's quite unbelievable. And again, a very, very nice guy.
Yeah,
I saw him about a year ago in LA. I used to live in the States too at one time. Me and my missus used to live in Las Vegas. And I lived in LA also, but we had a house in Vegas in the outskirts. We never went into the Strip. Only when friends from Europe would come over, they go, "Oh, you know, we're here, so okay, we'll meet up with you," and just go into the Strip then. But we never used to go there on a regular basis.
Well, that's what it's like. I have friends that live in Vegas, and I'd go visit. You know, you think they're like on the Strip. They don't go there. Like, if you want to go there, we'll go there, but they don't go there.
Yeah.
So I get that.
Yeah.
2025, last summer, you released the solo album. What's going on with the Timescape live album and your current band? What are you doing in 2025?
Chris Slade Timeline, yes. Great band. One of the greatest bands I've ever played with, to be honest. I know that sounds silly to say that with Jimmy Page and Dave Gilmour, Angus and everybody else. But it reminds me of Earthband. Timeline reminds me of Earthband. It's very diverse. They're all great musicians. I handpicked them basically because I needed somebody who would play, be able to play and want to play AC/DC and say Tom Jones or The Firm or something like that, you know. And it really takes a real musician to play that stuff really well, and they do. And I'm so proud of the band. We've been together 12 years now. That's longer than any band I've been in.
Well, Yeah, it's great playing with those rock legends, but you're a creator. And I would imagine in this outfit, you're creating with these guys. You're writing, you're contributing. And
yeah. Well, I wrote a lot of the first side of the album because it's a double CD.
mm-hmm.
When you get a CD, it's double. So on the first one, it's original stuff. And which I wrote most of it, actually. Melodies, string lines, brass lines, everything. I don't write music, but I know how a song gets put together. I've been writing lyrics since Earthband days, 70s. But I've never... I have tried songs, full songs, and some of them are okay. In fact, one of them's on the album, Back with a Vengeance. And that was a real exercise for me. It was a very creative time, and Earthband was a very creative time.
Mm-hmm.
But Timeline, recording that Timescape album, which has been out about 6 months now, was really me exploring what you can do in the studio and how you can put things together. I mean, I've been doing it all my life, but I've never been at the sharp end, if you like, because everything was down to me. Like, okay, guitar solo now. Or maybe, I tell you what, our organ solo. So I could run the show, which I'm not used to. It's not it's not in my makeup to be a front man. But
Sure.
when you've got this band, you've got to be, because that's what people want. So I learned over the last 12 years how to be a front man, all by mistakes, of course. Oh, you shouldn't say that. Okay, I won't say that anymore. And it was a trial and error thing. And I really wanted to play other stuff apart from AC/DC. I wanted to play Uriah Heep, all the, and give a real précis of my history. Really, it's a history of rock and roll, is what it is.
Are there any dates? Are you playing any of these big festivals or any dates?
We've played all over Europe, Italy, Spain, even the Eastern Bloc, like, over to when I say Eastern Bloc, I mean Poland and Czech Republic and things like that. Germany, we play a lot, and France. It was the only place we did play. Actually, I was going to say we played Portugal too. Just once, I think it was. But that's a long way to drive because we drive everywhere.
Oh, well.
And because we want to use our own equipment, not rental stuff, I've done that all my life. And mainly, and especially when you fly somewhere. And, there's a kit waiting for you and it's got to be set up and it's not your kit.
No. ChrisSlade.com, best place to get information on your material, your tour dates, everything.
Yes.
Chris Slade.
Yes. ChrisSlade.com.
Okay.
Or it's Chris Slade Timeline on Facebook, actually. And my missus runs that too. So, Christine. So,
okay. All right.
ChrisSlade.com, you can buy the double CD Timescape also, signed.
Okay, well, there you go. That's a little extra bonus.
Get that plug-in. I thought I'd get that plug-in. Sorry.
Yeah, sure. Anything else you want to plug? This.
No, just hey, people, listen to Time Flies on Timescape.
Well, we'll have links in the show notes, and we will get everyone up to date on it. Chris, thank you. Congratulations on a great career. thank you for some of the music I've enjoyed throughout my listening career, and it's been a pleasure to catch up with you. Walt,
you.
anything you want to say to Chris before we let him go?
First, I had one last question for you. I just want to know who drives the
there you
van
go,
around.
Chris.
I hope that sits at your. I hope you get to sit in the back seat in the big lounge chair, and you get one of the young guys to drive.
Yeah. No, I still drive. I love being on the road. I just love it.
Okay.
And
Yeah. Okay.
okay, the guys will do the night stuff perhaps. If we need to do the night stuff. But I like to still get involved, and I love being on the road. I've always loved being on the road since I was 16.
Yep.
So it's in my blood. I can't help it.
That's it. That's great.
All right. Well, again, Chris Slade, thank you. We appreciate it. And listeners, if you dig what we're doing here, get up to metalmayhemroc.com, subscribe to the pod, leave a review, and sign up for our newsletter. For my guest, Chris Slade, and my co-host, Metal Walt, I'm the Vernomatic, and we are Metal Mayhem ROC.
Thanks, guys.
Metal for life.
Thank you for listening to Metal Mayhem ROC. Check out our website at metalmayhemroc.com for information on podcasts, archives, links to all our live radio shows, and all sorts of info. Please like, follow, and share with everyone, even your non-metal friends. And always remember to keep it heavy.